Happy Saturday, the original morning story. Yes, this day. And I'm making an excuse to read a book because I have homework to do. I am behind. And I've just been doing my own thing, jogging and gardening and yeah. So I need to get inspiration. And I do that by reading a book and getting back to work. So let me put this to the side and read this. Eric Carle. You remember Eric Carle? He was first a professional in the graphic arts business. He was working in advertisement, and then someone noticed a cool illustration he made of, I believe, a lobster. And it was creative, and from there he was contracted, hired out, and he started making his own books after he was commissioned to illustrate one book. And it just kept on going on. All right, well, anyway, this is Mr. Seahorse. And remember, Eric Carle, he's not with us any longer, but he has a museum, and he just was always inspired by colors and collage. He would take tissue paper, different textures, and he would paint the tissue paper and combine all of the mixed media together to make a masterpiece. So here you can see that this is most likely a collage. And in the back of this book, the back cover says, "Dear friends, in most fish families, after the mother has laid the eggs and the father has fertilized them, the eggs are left on their own. But there are exceptions, such as the seahorse, the stickleback, tilapia, yummy, curtis, nursery fish, pipefish, bullhead, catfish, and some others. Not only are the eggs cared for by a parent, but surprise, that parent is the father." Didn't know that. This may sound strange, but it is the truth. And this is my story about them. I hope you enjoy my story. Cool, the power of males, fatherhood. We hear so much about moms. Yes, every day is Mother's Day, but to celebrate our fathers, especially the male seahorse. Look at this. Isn't that cool? Yeah. And this was produced in 2004, almost 20 years ago. Mr. and Mrs. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea. Mrs. Seahorse began to wiggle and twist this way and that. "It's time for me to lay my eggs," she said. "Can I help?" asked Mr. Seahorse. "Oh, yes, thank you." And she laid her eggs into a pouch on Mr. Seahorse's belly. "I'll take good care of our eggs," he said. "I promise." Oh, that sounds like a good one. He's responsible. He's a protector. He's attentive. As Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by. Look. Oh. Yes. A group of trumpet fish hidden in a patch of reeds. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. "How are you, Mr. Stickleback?" asked Mr. Seahorse. "I'm delighted," he replied. "I just built a nest, and right away, Mrs. Stickleback laid her eggs into it. Now I'm taking good care of them until they hatch. Keep up the good work, Mr. Seahorse," said Mr. Seahorse, and he swam away. So it looks like that they're taking care of business, right? Mrs. Stickleback put some eggs in the care for Mr. Stickleback too. So these are some responsible males. They're out there. As Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by. Oh, look at this. A lionfish hidden behind a coral reef. Look at the illustrations and paint and the tissue paper he used, the texture. Oh, this is beautiful. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. Did I miss some words here? Oh, the lionfish? Okay. But before long, yes, he met another fish. How are you, Mr. Tilapia? Mr. Tilapia couldn't answer. His mouth was full of, what do you think? Eggs. I know, said Mr. Seahorse. Mrs. Tilapia laid her eggs. Now you are taking good care of them until they hatch. Mr. Tilapia nodded his head. Instead of his hands full, his mouth was full. Very busy. You must be very happy, said Mr. Seahorse, and swam on his way. Isn't this wonderful? As Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by. Ooh, look here. Don't you love the color combination of blue and green? Several leaf fish hidden among the seaweed. Speaking of leaves, I just looked at a box of leaves that my mom preserved, and I have to say those leaves are probably 35 years old. Very hard, but she preserved them nicely, and they're in an old-fashioned Carson Puri Scott box. But anyway, getting back to our leaf fish, they are among the seaweed. And you see the beautiful colors here? Blue, green, and yellow. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. How are you, Mr. Curtis? Perfectly fine, replied Mr. Curtis. Mrs. Curtis laid her eggs, and I have stuck them on my head. Now I am taking good care of them until they hatch. You are doing a good job, said Mr. Seahorse, and swam on his way. You notice he didn't tell anybody what he's doing himself. He knows how to keep a secret. As Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by. What do you think this is? Oh, a stonefish hidden behind a rock. This is beautiful. Turquoise and copper and gold, amber colors. Yes. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. How are you, Mr. Pipe? Asked Mr. Seahorse. Couldn't be better. Just remind me of like the old school welcomes and conversations that sound like my father would. He would greet neighbors or greet his friends. Just, they had that courteous, positive, classy dialogue with one another. Oh, just fine. Marvelous. Couldn't be better. Well, Mr. Pipe is saying, Mrs. Pipe laid her eggs along my belly. Yeah. Now I am taking good care of them until they hatch. You should feel proud of yourself, said Mr. Seahorse, and swam on his way. Isn't this precious? But before long, Mr. Seahorse met yet another fish. How are you, Mr. Bullhead? Tip top. Look at that. It's so cool. Mrs. Bullhead laid her eggs and the eggs hatched. Now I'm babysitting. You are doing a fine job, said Mr. Seahorse, and swam on his way. Not a lot of chitter, keep it short and sweet. The time had come for the seahorse babies to be born. Mr. Seahorse wiggled and twisted this way and that. At last, the babies tumbled from Mr. Seahorse's pouch and swam away. One baby turned around and tried to come back into the pouch. "Oh no," said Mr. Seahorse. "I do love you, but now you are ready to be on your own. That reminds me, I finally got rid of that nest. You know, those teenager chicks, they finally flew away a few weeks ago, and I said I do not want that nest to stay up there thinking that another mama, even though this is really not the season, but I didn't want anyone to come back and say, yeah, we remember that address, and there's a nest ready made." And it was so tightly constructed, but it was just the course of nature. Just, once they were fully developed, their wings, right. It seemed like it took a month or 2 months, but that's the thing about it. No, don't let that seahorse turn around. I love you, but you are on your own. So that's for you empty nesters. I know it's hard. I was listening to a married couple yesterday and how they grieved so when their daughter left for college, only 17 years old, and oh my goodness, and the 2 kids were crying and they were just a mess. I mean, they were saying that they had to probably have therapy. And listen, this is the cycle of life. Time to go, time to leave, time to come back, time to visit, so that they could do their own adventuring out here. Yeah, venture out. That's right. So this was a book about responsibility, but it's also about seasonal changes in life and doing our best. We develop so that we can do great things. And the cycle continues, keeps on going. Okay, I'm ready to work. I hope you are. And we salute our fathers, mothers, parents, our children. Let's grow to develop so we could do great things and launch out into our own. Happy Saturday. Get busy, Michelle.